toxic masculinity.
Okay, we got a couple of super chats here. If I can find them. Daniel J. Corca. Hey, nice to see you, Daniel. I love real women that wear plaid skirts. Is that a fetish or am I just a normal man? P.S. Da. Dude looks like a lady. Just not that dude. I guess this is about the trans children's show thing. The plaid skirt thing is kind of funny. Yeah, I think the plaid skirt thing is normal. I mean, I was born in 1979. I grew up in the 80s, and in the 90s it was a pretty popular look. In the 1990s and the early 2000s, the sort of short plaid skirt was like a very popular look with girls. It's sort of a sexy look, and yeah, I mean, I liked it. I remember dating a couple of girls, and they would ask me about fashion stuff sometimes, like what do guys like, right? Because when you're younger, girls, they kind of know what girls like, but they don't necessarily know what guys like, and they're afraid of looking, sleazy or whatever. So they try to, they ask you what you think, what you like, what you want to see. And I remember specifically telling a couple of girls I dated that I like the plaid skirt thing. And it was because I saw other girls wearing that and like tights and the plaid skirt combo. And I remember thinking that was pretty sexy, and I mentioned it to the girls. They bought them, and I thought, yeah, they look good. So I don't know. I don't know if I don't think that's a fetish. I just think that's a look, right? It's a look that looks good. The choker was really popular in the 90s as well. That was actually a pretty sexy look as well. It's like from what was that movie with the witches? The Craft? The Craft. They kind of look like that in The Craft. Let's see here. Oh, hey, Ashley sent me some super chats. Frank James writes, Bill Gates is asking Epstein for advice on women. Why not? Women are like children. There's... That's messed up, dude. Let's see here. Daniel J. Corca writes, Trump is still living rent-free in liberals' heads. Trump derangement syndrome is real, and liberals have a terminal case of it. Free the kitty. He's sleeping. I think I fed him. No, I didn't. I just washed out this bowl. I don't know what happened to him. He's around here somewhere. Yeah. They're still obsessed with Donald Trump. And it's really unhealthy. In fact, the state prosecutor in New York, or state prosecutor, something like that. I think her name is Letitia James. She's out basically trying to find any kind of dirt she can on Trump to try to get him arrested or, put in prison or something like that. I mean, these Democrats are targeting Trump for political persecution, like straight up. I mean, it's not a good situation. I think Trump will be vindicated pretty much in every possible way. I think his business will be vindicated. I think that the election, he'll be vindicated in the election. But I'm an optimist. Let's see here. Daniel J. Corca writes, where are we going and why are we in this handbasket? Yeah, I don't know. Okay, here we go. We got another couple of comments. Abel Garcia writes, Chris, I'm a former male to female, born a guy, and I'm a man again. Wow, that's interesting. That's so you were trans. This guy was trans. So you went male to female, and now he's a man again. And I used to be in this degeneracy, but goddamn, this is too much even for me. I met a couple. I have a really good friend actually who was he wasn't trans, I don't think, ever or anything like that, but he was actually a gay porn star. This is kind of a weird thing. Yeah, I'm good friends with a gay porn star, which is weird. He's from Scotland. He was like Mr. Leather 2003 in Germany. He's a German guy. He lives in Scotland. Great guy. And he's trying to leave all that life behind, right? He's got a girlfriend, and he's trying to live a normal, healthy lifestyle. And he's kind of an interesting guy because he doesn't seem to be somebody who got into any kind of weird sexual stuff because of any kind of like childhood trauma, or at least that I'm aware of. He certainly endured some childhood trauma. I mean, we've talked about that, but I don't think that was why he got into that stuff. Maybe it was. I don't know. But he did, he did realize this is not a good lifestyle. This is not a healthy way to live, and he's out of it. He's changed his ways, and very good man, very good man. So yeah, I mean, everybody who becomes trans or becomes gay or something like this, I don't necessarily just immediately think, oh, you're a disgusting degenerate. Away with you. You know, and I have friends who are gay, who are still gay, and I have one friend who I was friends with for a long time. I mean, we were good friends, and he was straight. He loved girls, and he was kind of a comedian kind of guy, right? I mean, he was a very, very funny guy, and he basically ridiculed everyone. He was basically like racist jokes, gay jokes. I mean, whatever. He didn't care, but it was all for the comedy, right? It wasn't because he was really racist or he hated gay people or anything. But then he comes out as gay, and it was really a weird experience because it's somebody I was very close to. I knew him for a very long time. He actually stopped talking to me for about 2 years, and I didn't know why. I'm like, why is this guy not picking up? I don't understand what's going on. I was like, okay, well, whatever. I didn't talk to him for like 2 years. Ran into him at a nightclub, normal straight nightclub. I was with a girl, and he was with a bunch of people. So at first I didn't know what was going on. And so we're catching up and having a laugh, and then I said something. I was like, well, what's the deal with this? What's the deal with that? What's going on with you? And he's like, oh, well, I'm doing this and that. It's probably because I'm gay. And I'm like, and I laughed at that. I laughed at it. And then I realized, I looked at all his friends and I realized, oh, crap, he's gay. This is really weird. But then we kind of reconnected, and I'm like, why did you stop being friends with me? He's like, I don't know. I was like, I just kind of disconnected from everybody when I became gay. I was like, that's weird. But now we're very close friends again. So I don't know. I mean, look, people are people. People go through weird stuff, and I don't know. I tend to be somewhat sympathetic of people. Yeah, I'm not, I don't really like gay stuff. I've talked about it on the show, but I'm not going to just completely throw people away, because they have some kind of sexual preference or sexual thing that, I don't like, or I don't agree with, or I think is a little gross. I don't think they're, irreparably damaged, horrible human beings to be tossed away. I think that, I have some sympathy for people who are dealing with that kind of stuff. I'm not, it's not something I like. I don't really like talking about that stuff really, but it's just part of life now. It's part of the world now. A lot of gay people now. So it's, I don't think you're going to go around and never meet anybody gay anymore. It's just not the way the world is. Let's see here. Paper Plate's right. I wish this was a negative super chat for subjecting me to the trans hip switch nonsense. A great show tonight, though, man. Have a great weekend. Thanks, Paper Plates. You're right. You guys should be taking money from me. That was a torture I forced you to endure. Abel Garcia writes, I'm too poor for these super chats. I spoke with Elijah Schaefer last year, and I did an interview with him. Episode 38. I'll chat in the comments for more. Oh, that's quite cool, man. Episode 38. That's weird. Well, email me that. I'll watch it. I don't know what that means, episode 38. The Reagan-esque conservative at gmail.com. Send that to me. I'll watch it. That's very cool. You, because he did this thing, I think. Elijah did this thing where he was like, and actually this was brought to my attention from a friend of mine. I didn't even watch these, but Elijah did this thing where he had, I think it was gay people come on and debate Christians or something like that. I don't exactly know what it was, but very interesting. Yeah, very interesting stuff. Elijah likes getting into that. He likes getting into the gay stuff. That sounds wrong. That's not he's married, right? But he does like to explore that kind of stuff, people's sexuality, and he's actually a really good guy about that. He's a very he likes to talk to people in a very sympathetic way about their struggles with their sexuality and stuff like that. He's kind of in tune with that stuff. I'm not so much in tune with that stuff. And it's weird. There was this big push in the 90s that if you have some kind of aversion to homosexuality, that must be some kind of an indication that you have homosexual tendencies, that you're like that you have like a latent homosexuality. And that's such BS. That is such BS. I think most straight guys have a kind of an aversion to gay stuff. They find it kind of gross and weird. They don't like it. I think that's a natural response, actually. And that's definitely my response. Like, when I was a kid, when I was about 3, I took a swim class. And I remember there was like this really pretty little girl, little blonde girl. And I was like, I like that girl. I want to date her. I didn't even know really what dating was or anything like that. I just wanted to be around this little girl. I was 3. And then basically every year in school, there was some little girl I had a crush on. Like I was a little boy who really found pretty little girls fascinating. And when I was a little kid, I wanted to be around them. And I would like fight to sit next to the pretty girl in class with other boys and stuff like that. And I don't know how many boys grow up that way, but that was definitely my mindset. And that was not something, people say, oh, kids practice learned behavior. No. This was not learned behavior. I would get in trouble for this. I would get in trouble for this stuff. Like, I was scolded for liking little girls. But I did. I had this like fascination with beautiful little girls. That sounds really bad. As a little boy, right? If I was a 3-year-old, I liked the 3-year-old little girl. If I was a 6-year-old, I liked the 6-year-old little girl, right? I liked the girls in my class. And actually, when you're a kid, there is actually a major gap between your ages. If you're 6 and like a little girl's 5, you wouldn't like her because she's really young, right? It's sort of like your little brothers and sisters. You don't have as much respect for because they're not as smart as you. They're not as big as you. And kids do tend to stay within their own age group, I find, to some degree, in terms of like interacting with other kids. But yeah, so it was always an age-appropriate crush, just to put that out there. But yeah, even from like a very young age, I really liked little girls. And geez, that sounds horrible. This is like a minefield. You guys know what I mean. And there were some little girls who liked little boys. You would notice, like they would chase little boys around the playground and try to kiss them and stuff like that. And it was always frustrating as a kid because you always have a crush on one girl, but then another girl has a crush on you, and you're running away from that girl, and you're trying to spend time with this other girl. And yeah. Anyway, being a kid's weird, but I think it's very natural for little boys to have little crushes on little girls and stuff like that. And so to me, the whole concept of being gay, when I even found out about that, I was just like, what? It didn't make any sense to me in my head, and I never really have grown out of that. Like, that's always been my perspective. It's like, I do not understand being gay. I don't understand it. Like, to me, it's completely irrational. In fact, as a kid, I mean, as probably like a teenager, I thought, I don't even know why girls like guys. Like, guys are not even like, there's nothing interesting about guys, but girls are beautiful. I was like, I don't know why every girl's not a lesbian. Lesbianism, I totally understand. I could get with that. If I were a woman, yeah, lesbianism, I think, would be where I was headed. Okay, so I'm trying to read some stuff. Abel Garcia writes, it's episode 38, the interview on his channel. Okay, I'll try to look it up, man. Abel Garcia. I assume you have the same name on there. For a quick TLDR, I started medication in 2016. Stopped medication a year and a half later, but I couldn't socially become a man until December 2020. It's like weird. Like, I read this thing. I was listening to NPR many years ago about a girl who always wanted to be a guy, right? And her experience was really flippin' weird. So for many years, she was this like hardcore bull dyke lesbian, right? She was like this really tough chick. And she said, like, basically every guy that I would run into was like a little bit scared of me, right? Because I had this attitude and I was like a real cool chick with like a really like short haircut, and I just scared the crap out of guys. Like, they always were like, you know, they were always a little bit scared around me and stuff. And she's like, I love that. I love the power of that. And then she decided that she was going to transition into a guy. And so she started taking all the different testosterone, and she was, trying to dress like a guy. She was trying to grow facial hair. She had her, like, breasts cut off and everything. And she's whatever surgery she needed, whatever drugs she needed. And then she got to the point where she was a passing male, right? She was passing as male, and people thought she was a guy. And she was like, I was really proud of that, until I realized that basically once I was perceived as a guy, other guys had no respect for me at all. They stopped being scared of me. Now, why did they stop being scared of this girl? Well, this girl was a very small girl. She was probably like 5'2", 5'3", something like that, and she was a girl, right? She didn't have massive amount of muscle. And so guys would like shoulder check her and stuff like that when they're walking by her. Like, they'd start bullying her, thinking she was just like a weak, pathetic guy. And like, that's the thing. Like, women think that being a guy is instantly means that you're some kind of like tough, dominant person. That is not true. Most guys are not tough, dominant people. Some guys are, some guys aren't. There's a lot of guys who we call nerds, right? Guys who are weak, guys who aren't physically strong. Most guys are like that. I mean, at least 50% of guys are below average physical strength, Obviously, that's the way statistics works. But even those guys are tougher than girls, right? Girls are naturally weaker than men. And I don't mean tough like having tenacity or, being able to endure the outdoors or something like that. I mean tough, like physically strong. And that's just physically how people are, right? So you get this girl who imagined that once she became a guy, she would be like this, like the ringleader of a gang or something, right? Like, she'd be this like tough dude that everybody respects. She is a tough girl that everybody respects, because here's the thing. When you run into a tough girl, you can't punch a girl. So guys have this weird thing where we are a little bit, we're not necessarily intimidated by these women, but we're uncomfortable. You get uncomfortable around girls who act tough because there's not really much you can do back. I mean, I suppose if a girl tried to stab you or shoot you, you could punch her in the face. But for the most part, guys can't punch girls. Like, we can't get in a fight with a girl, so that we lose a lot of what makes us physically dominant. Now, again, in a very serious situation, of course you're going to be able to physically dominate this woman. But normally you just wouldn't want to touch the woman, right? So guys kind of have a hands-off approach to women for the most part, in terms of confrontation. And so if a girl is constantly like barking in men's faces and the men aren't doing anything, the girl gets this false sense of strength. She thinks that she's tougher than all these guys because the guys sort of like move away from her, and they seem like they're intimidated. They're not really intimidated. They're just uncomfortable. And so when the girl then transitions to a guy and everybody thinks that she's a guy, she's like a little wimp, right? They can just basically push her over and they think, ha, 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 look at that little bitch, but they think it's a guy, so they think it's okay. And so she transitions. She realized she's not the tough guy that she wanted to be. She's a little wimpy guy. And I think for the most part, that's what happens, right? If you're a girl that transitions to a guy, you don't end up being the cool guy. You end up being the nerd. It's not the guy that the girls want to be. I think that's it for all the chats, guys. Let's have a look here real quick. Okay, episode 38 is the episode on Elijah's channel. It was released on January 2020, but if YouTube is making it hard to find, look up "trans surgery ruined my life." I will look at that. Thanks, Abel. Yeah, it's very cool. All right, yeah, it was a good show today, guys. I mean, there was a couple of like stories that were Not as solid as I would have liked, but very tantalizing stuff, very interesting stuff. Hopefully they do find more dirt on Biden, more dirt on Hunter, so much so that it becomes irrefutable and it has to be reported by the mainstream media. I think they'll still try to hide it and bury it, but there are certain situations, like with Andrew Cuomo, that there are certain lines that you can't cross, and once those lines are crossed, it becomes difficult to regain the support of even your voters, even your supporters. So yeah. So, we can find more evidence of corruption. Hopefully it becomes so obvious that it's impossible to deny. And what was the other story that was a little bit vague? Oh, the Bill Gates stuff. Yeah, hopefully the Bill Gates stuff gets clarified. The problem is, if Bill Gates is kind of like innocent of any of the suspicions we might have of him, he'll never be exonerated, because he's got this connection to Epstein. So everybody will just think, oh yeah, Bill Gates definitely is a pedophile. He's never going to wash that off. Like, you just can't be friends with somebody like Jeffrey Epstein. It's tough. It's tough. But if he is guilty of something like that, then I hope that is revealed. I don't like this idea that there's all these important people that met up with Jeffrey Epstein, went to his island, engaged in this kind of behavior, and we don't know who any of them are. It's not been revealed. They're not arrested. There's no consequences for them. To me, this is kind of like, I think it was who's that guy that does that show? I don't know. Anyway, doesn't matter. I heard a kind of a rumor, this idea that Jeffrey Epstein, was maybe somehow connected with intelligence agencies. This seems to me like a conspiracy theory, but it may be true. It may be true. So there's this rumor that he's connected to intelligence agencies, and he was actually an operative that was used to compromise certain people from around the world, so that the intelligence agencies would have control over those people. Who was it? Alex Jones. Alex Jones said this. So take that for what you will. It's an Alex Jones thing. But Alex Jones is basically like, he thinks that Jeffrey Epstein is an operative who's collecting compromising data on these people, so that they could then be, exploited and blackmailed and controlled. And I feel like that theory is actually supported by the fact that we don't have the names of any of these important people that were involved in this stuff. Like, none of them have been exposed, right? We have like lists of people who flew on his plane, but we don't have any evidence of anybody. There's got to be pictures. There's got to be, you got Ghislaine Maxwell, or whatever her name is. She's in jail now. They have the opportunity to interrogate her, to find out evidence on all these people, to arrest them all, to prosecute them. But like, we got nothing. Like, there's no follow up on that. Okay, if nobody's being arrested, then somebody's collecting this data, this scandalous data, and they're using it in some other way. Why are they hoarding this criminal data? Why aren't they just arresting these people and prosecuting them? I don't get it. Unless we're dealing with corrupt intelligence agencies, a corrupt judicial system that's just exploiting these people and blackmailing them and controlling them, and they refuse to prosecute them. They refuse to have them arrested. So the Alex Jones theory seems right, which I think is weird. I'm not saying it's right. I don't know if it's right, but it seems like it's right based on that fact that none of these important people have been arrested and they're not being prosecuted. All right, well, you know what? I think it's a kind of an early day today. I think we're done kind of early. So, all right, guys, happy Friday. You have an awesome weekend. Kiss your wife, hug your kids, and just relax a little bit. Maybe go on a hike. Enjoy life. I'm not going to. I'm going to work all weekend. But the rest of you should. And right, I look forward to talking to you guys again on Monday. So, without further ado, remember, it's not that our liberal friends are ignorant. It's just they know so much that is not so. And also, I should say, This is the least professional show on YouTube, and sorry that Valeria's not here, but I think she'll be here on Monday. All right. See you guys then. Good night.
Toxic masculinity.